Yo, 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 if you're thinking about moving to Seattle, Washington, you're probably researching schools and neighborhoods and what it's going to take to get the latte done right. Now, darling, you may have thought that here in Seattle, we have gone through our cultural phases already. We've gone through the hippie phase, skater phase, punk phase, all that stuff in the 90s. Bless your heart, there was the goth phase, and now we're all tech wizards. But I still don't sound like I'm from Seattle because now I'm doing my southern accent. That's not really what they sounded like in North Carolina, but I'm trying to make a point, right? When you get here, you might feel like you don't fit in. You might feel like you're not talking correctly. You might feel like you don't know the phrases or the jargon and all of those things. There's always shifting cultural norms. And of course, we have TV and TikTok and everything in between, right, to help us get in touch with people from all around the world. But I would like to say that Seattle is pretty cool, pretty cutting edge, just like me, obviously. So it's good to know what it's going to take to fit in once you move here. And I've lived in the South, I've lived in New York. So it's good to know what it's going to take to fit in once you move here. And as you plan your move and you want to kind of blend in from day one, I'm going to pull back the curtain here. I am a local Seattle native, and I want you to know what it's really like, so you don't sound like the person who just asked for directions to Pike's Place Market. If you don't know why that's wrong, I'll tell you in a minute. But basically, if you don't want people to know that you're not from around here, darling, then you need to stick to the end of this video. I'm going to share a few real estate-friendly navigation tips that locals swear by, and some stories about the times I got embarrassed because I didn't know what was going on, and of course how to talk like a local, our vocabulary, and you'll get a chance to hear my accent. But I like to say that I don't have an accent, but I will tell you the things that my southern roommates made fun of me for when I did move to North Carolina for college. Okay, so I'm Emily Cressey. I am, like I said, a Seattle native, born and raised. I'm also a realtor with Keller Williams, Greater Seattle, and I have lived here most of my life, except for internships and jobs and stuff in the 20s, college, that type of thing. And so I'm going to give you the inside scoop on the Seattle slang, the local oddities, how to get around, and how to not stick out as a newcomer. And of course, if it is your first time on my channel, I am your super cool soccer mom type of real estate agent, and I really try to focus on this channel for people that are relocating to the area. They want to learn buyer tips, what the neighborhoods are like, and all that kind of thing. So be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you'll get updates when I do updates, which I try to do, like I said, every single week. We're going to talk about slang and local sayings. And if you want to sound like you belong in Seattle and not like you just landed at SeaTac with your suitcase and your selfie stick, these are the local terms that you need to get right. One that you'll hear, especially on a beautiful day like what we're having here with sun, everyone will tell you that the mountain is out, and that means Mount Rainier. Okay, so it's one of our days, probably a summer day, that we don't have cloudy skies, and you can actually see this beautiful mountain that's like 2 or 3 hours away. And you can see it from a lot of places in the city, but if you can't see it, it's like a day that ends in Y. And if you can see it, that's part of the forecast. The mountain is out. So you should go outside immediately and be sure to wear layers so you can take off your sweater and possibly get some sun onto your skin. Okay. The second one is, remember, it's Pike Place Market, not Pike's Place. The name of the street that it's on is Pike. So when you're already downtown, like you're walking around, taking in the sights, that type of a thing, you can actually just call it the market, and locals will know what you're talking about. But there are a lot of different farmers markets all around all of the suburbs and everything. So Pike Place Market is fine. And the other thing, okay, and this Californians, do I have a California girl accent in me? So like if you're from California and you're trying to get around, you might need to go on the freeway, and you might call it the 5. But here in Seattle, we call it I-5 because the I is for interstate and the 5 is for 5. And so it's Interstate 5, and that is where we go. So we might call it the freeway because that's the main freeway, or we might just call it I-5, but we do not call it the 5 because that, I'm pretty sure, is from California. Okay, got it? I-5. Capitol Hill. So Capitol Hill is a really cool place by downtown Seattle, and we don't actually call it Cap Hill. Maybe the cool kids do, but they're not from around here. The people from around here I've always grown up calling it Capitol Hill. They actually, whoever named it that, I think it was back in the day, but they wanted to move the state capital, which is in Olympia, to Capitol Hill. So that's where it was going to be. It never came, but we still have the name, and there's a lot of shopping and bars and restaurants up there, pubs, that kind of thing, bowling and beer. What else have we got? The University District. So this is where the University of Washington is located, just north of Capitol Hill and north of downtown Seattle. And we call it the U District, U for University. We also call University Avenue the Ave, and University Village, U Village. It's actually a really nice luxury shopping mall. I did a whole nother video on that because I think it's a really fun place to go. And you can watch that on my YouTube channel as well. But U Village is fantastic, really beautiful landscaping, really nice flowers. And if you just want like an outdoor mall to walk around in and sip Starbucks and look fancy, then that's the place to go for that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a time that I did something embarrassing, and this is a lesson that I want you to learn is in here. Okay, so when I was in high school, or actually when I was in elementary school, I was always the bookworm in the back seat. Like I was always just reading a book, reading Reader's Digest. We didn't have iPhones, so I was always reading. When I got my license, when I turned 16, I didn't actually know how to get anywhere. I didn't know where anything was. Trying to get to my cross country meet at Green Lake, which is a pretty big landmark around here. And I've got lost during races as well. And at the end of the season, my teammates gave me a compass because they knew that I was directionally challenged. But I don't want that to happen to you when you get here. If your Google Maps is on the fritz, or people are just talking to you about, you know, it's north of here, or this is the landmark and that type of a thing, I want you to kind of start to get that map in your mind so that you have half an ounce of sense about what's going on around you, okay? Because there's not that much land, and it's important to know how the city is laid out. So if you're in downtown Seattle, there's an acronym to remember the order of the streets. And so it starts with Jesus Christ made Seattle under protest. J is for Jefferson and James Street. C is for Cherry and Columbia Street. M is for Marion and Madison Street. S is for Spring and Seneca Street. U is for University and Union Street. And P is for Pike and Pine. And guess what's on Pike Street? Yes, it's the Pike Place Market. Okay. So, if you're in downtown and you're like, oh, I'm on Seneca, how do I get to Pike? Remember this acronym, and you're going to have a better clue about what direction you should go and where the streets are. Okay. So that's a cool thing that you can know about. The next thing to know is that we have a really confusing street layout. It's not a grid, right? It's not graph paper here. We've got hills and ravines and curvy roads and numbers and word names, and nothing's in alphabetical order. It's very tricky to get around, but there are a few things that you can kind of use to get your bearings. So you remember Seattle is divided into quadrants. I-5 runs north and south through the city, and downtown Seattle is kind of the 0 point if we were graphing. All right, so I'm going to make another video with even more detail to help you drill down if you're a math geek like my kids are. So you can watch that if you want to. But for now, at least you know that there is a method to the madness, and those are some of the things that you can look out for that'll put you ahead of 98% of the people that live here. All right, so now let's talk about another way to navigate, which is using nature. So when you're going around town, you're going to get disoriented because there are hills. I mean, we're not in Ohio where you're just like looking flat over everything. You're going to be surrounded by trees. You're going to be going up, down, and sideways. You won't know what direction anything is, and you're going to want to try to figure out, well, if it's not too cloudy, you can always use the sun. But if you have a sense of any landmarks around you, then that's going to be really helpful. So to your west is Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. So if you can see some mountains, we also have mountains on the east. So you need to kind of have a general idea of which way they are. But if there's ocean water there, then that's Puget Sound, and that's the west. And if there's Lake Washington there, then that's the Cascade Mountains, and you're looking east. If you see south, that the mountain is out, that's Mount Rainier, and that's to the south of us. Another thing that I found really tricky when I was a kid was people would say it's by the lake or on the water. And I was like, what? There's so much water here. I don't know what water, what lake you're talking about. Okay. But probably the most likely lake is Lake Washington, which is a really large north-south I think it's like a 12 or 13 mile long lake that divides Seattle and Bellevue. They're like sister cities divided by this lake. There are a couple of bridges that go across the lake, or you might have to go over the lake to the north or under the lake to the south through Renton. But that's the big lake in the area. But there's also Green Lake, which is a great little 3-mile loop running lake. And there's Lake Union, which is where a lot of the Google and tech people are. You know, we hear about South Lake Union. That's a big area that's going through a lot of redevelopment and getting a lot of Amazon and Google offices. And then there's also Lake Sammamish in Bellevue. There's Silver Lake in Everett. So there are a lot of lakes, and it's a great idea to know which lakes are in your area. And so if people are referring you to navigate by the lakes, you have more of a clue than I did about what is going on. All right, let's break into another section, social norms. We have a famous reputation for the Seattle freeze, thanks to Reddit. But I would say that Seattle people want to be nice overall. They're nice. Actually, like we walk around like this a lot, kind of huddled into our collars to keep the rain off your neck, because you're not wearing an umbrella, because that's not cool. That's like a tourist thing. All you need is some Gore-Tex with a hood. So we're in there in our hoods. We're warming our hands with our little takeout cup of coffee, and we're not making eye contact with all of the crazy people downtown and on the public transportation systems, because you don't want to instigate some sort of a confrontation. So people don't usually say hello. They're often wearing earbuds, or they're looking at their phone. And, you know, unfortunately, Seattle does have a pretty big drug and homelessness problem. And you'll see those people crossing the street in downtown Seattle. You'll see them taking off their pants and talking to themselves. You'll see them living in tents under the freeway, and you will see them taking drugs in the stairwell and on the train of the light rail system. So just be aware, keep your situational awareness strong about what's going on around you. And I really like to smile and make eye contact and wave. But I do that a lot more like when I'm taking a walk in my neighborhood and someone is out with their dog, and a little bit less when I'm in public transportation in Seattle and just places where, you know, crazy stuff seems to be going on. That being said, you will meet plenty of people, and they will be willing to talk with you while you're waiting in a line at Starbucks or the grocery store or something like that. But then they're going to be, that's it. Like, that's the end of the conversation. If you say something like, I'd love to get your number, let's hang out sometime, they might even say it to you. They might even say, that would be so fun, we should get together again sometime, ... But that basically means sometime, maybe never. So you can feel flattered that they were willing to say it. They didn't want to outright hurt your feelings, but don't actually count on anything happening. Okay. I don't want you to get your feelings hurt. Doesn't mean anything. No one's going to be inviting you over for dinner. It's very hard to get people out of their rut. And so Seattle is nice, but not necessarily kind, open-hearted, and hospitable. Like, no one's going to come with cookies when you move in. If they do, you have amazing neighbors, but don't count on it. There are a lot of people tend to stick to themselves a little bit more. It's not the South where you're going to get like 5 casseroles the day that your moving van shows up. Okay. Don't let it hold you back, but making real friends takes time. And you need to see people repeatedly. Oftentimes it's a good idea, like join a club, go to a church, be in a group, go to meetup, do something where you can see somebody on a regular basis for a repeated amount of time before you try to like take the relationship to the next level and actually, God forbid, plan to do something together. Go out to coffee or have them over to your house or have a party or something like that. So you have to be the planner. If you can get the non-committal Seattleites to show up at your events, you will be king of the mountain. We always want to be kind and accepting here in Seattle, but getting us out of the house and out of the routine takes a lot of effort. So you need to be the one that makes plans, and people will thank you for it. Okay. You bring that Southern hospitality right up here, because we need a dose. Now, I want to talk about the weather, because you've probably heard all sorts of horror stories about the rain, but as you can see, very nice. It can be very nice. I'm barefoot right now, guys. That's great. So it doesn't rain hard here. We're not getting those torrential rains where your pants get wet, but it just sort of rains forever all day. Umbrellas are for tourists. So you wear a coat with a hood. One time I got really confused when a client asked me what kind of boots that she needed when she was moving here. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, for the rain, do I need rain boots? And I was like, oh, well, you shouldn't really be taking on a lot of water through your feet on a normal tromp through town. We do have pavement. There's going to be the grocery store parking lot and maybe some uneven gravel places where there will be puddles, but for the most part, you can avoid them. Don't park in that spot. But the big nemesis for me is actually walking in grass. A lot of times when I'm showing homes and we're walking around the yard, the grass is always going to be wet. Whether or not it's been raining, there's going to be dew. So the grass is wet, and that will make your tennis shoes get wet and yucky. That will make your high heels sink into the grass. So yeah, wet grass is kind of my nemesis when it comes to showing houses, but you don't need knee-high Wellingtons to get around. Okay. If you have those running shoes with the inch foam heel, you should be good. That's kind of what we generally wear, sneakers. Or you could get, pretty much any type of hiking boot would fit right in. So get a water resistant jacket, get good shoes, and the vitamin D supplement, and that's all you need to get around during the winter. When it comes to groceries, I do want you to know that it's a BYO bags situation. Plastic bags, paper bags, when you buy your groceries and put it in a free bag at the grocery store, does not exist here. You have to buy your own bags. If you come to the store without a bag, they're going to charge you 8 cents for every bag that you get. And so what everybody does is they put their little vinyl shopping bags in the back of their Subaru. And then when they happen to arrive at Trader Joe's or Costco or whatever, they can bring in their bags and fill them up. And speaking of Costco, Costco is king. Kirkland's signature brand at Costco. Yep, that's us. Named after Kirkland, Washington. Costco actually started here in the Seattle area, and it's one of the country's most popular Costco's is actually our Shoreline location, which is just north of Seattle. And the employees there told me that their store was one of the first ones in the country to start selling sushi. So if you don't have sushi at your Costco yet, it's being tested right now in the Shoreline store. My family loves it, but it might be coming soon to a Costco near you. So stay tuned. We also have a lot of co-ops, like PCC and Central Market and Town and Country and that type of a thing. And there are a lot of those like bulk dry food bins with peanuts and chocolates and apple rings and things like that. So you just put in your dried beans, you put in your rice, you put in your candy, whatever you want. You weigh it by the pound. And so we can get spices, you can get teas. That's kind of a fun way to shop if you are looking for something a little bit special or different for like a soup or a ethnic food that you're making. But that's part of how we get our reputation for being like a crunchy granola vegetarian friendly area. So check out some bulk offerings at those types of stores. And then don't forget about coffee because yes, Starbucks started here. I think they're closing down the original Starbucks location at Pike Place Market because of probably homelessness or crime. It's a hugely popular location. I feel like there's always a huge line to get in there because it's a very touristy area, but a lot of locals often go indie and choose to support like smaller businesses. Now that Starbucks is so big, there's like kiosks, coffee everywhere, bikini baristas where you can go to the little shack on the side of the road on Aurora. It's like Ladybug Espresso, and you go in and, well, I haven't gone in. You just drive up in your car and there's the girl in her bikini, I hear, but you can't see them from the road. So you have to go all the way around and get a coffee. But that's going to be a pretty exciting trip, especially if you go to one unwittingly. So let me know if that's ever happened to you and willing to admit it. But obviously, Starbucks is still the one that made us famous and sort of put the $5 coffee on the map. So there are places in downtown Seattle where you could like stand in one spot and twirl around and see like 8 different Starbucks that you could choose from. So there's definitely high here. When we're in that cold weather with our hoodie, we need something to like warm and cheer us from within. And then, of course, during the summer, there's cold brew. The ultimate sort of teen conspicuous consumption flex is that like selfie photo featuring you with your like $8 Frappuccino drink, right? So it's very fun. Starbucks is popular. A lot of places have coffee machines. And if you don't like coffee, it's okay. But everyone will find out eventually. So you don't have to keep it private. Just own you're a tea drinker, own that you're a warm water and lemon girl, whatever the case might be. It's fine, but you need to find out what you can drink at Starbucks for when you need to meet your friends there. All right. So do you want help figuring out what Seattle neighborhood best fits your lifestyle? Please reach out to me. I offer relocation consultations. I can help you narrow it down. Everything is up front. There's no cost. It's just, regular real estate commissions on the back end. And I like to have a lot of fun with my clients. So if you're looking for a quiet backyard, a vibrant nightlife, a view of the city, whatever it is, check out our Seattle relocation guide in the show notes, and I'll introduce you to some of the different neighborhoods around here that you can choose from. So I might have mentioned before that public transportation is huge. The city really wants to push people toward using public transportation to get around because we definitely have a lot of congestion on the freeways, which is called I-5. And one of our newest billion-dollar creations is the light rail system. It's called the Link. I don't think anybody calls it that. I call it the light rail. And it's basically an elevated train from Linwood through Seattle that goes underground at some places. It goes all the way south to SeaTac Airport. And they're working on developing more track on the east side, meaning Bellevue, and south to Federal Way, which is the end of King County, the Pierce County there. And so there's a lot of options. It's pretty slow to ride because it makes a lot of stops. Another commuter option is called the Sounder. It's a choo-choo train that runs on the old-fashioned tracks along Puget Sound from Everett to Seattle on the North Branch, and then from Seattle to Tacoma on the South Branch. And I believe there are 2 runs in the morning and 2 runs in the afternoon. So depending on where you're going, that could be another option for you. And we have our Orca card named after the orca whale, which is our bus pass. And you can use that for buses and ferries and light rail. But not all of the buses run frequently or go super close to where you're going. So especially if you're going to ride at night or during non-commuter hours, it's a good idea to plan your trip. They have a really actually very helpful website. It's called the tripplanner.kingcounty.gov. And you can go there and kind of say, I'm leaving from this place and I want to arrive at this other place at, let's say, so what are where should I walk? Where should I transfer? What bus should I take? And some people actually commute on the ferry every day. These are large boats that shuttle people back and forth. They bring cars and trucks and motorcycles and things like that. Just like you see on Grey's Anatomy, if you still watch that TV show, it's like a medical soap opera that's been going on for 20 years. Love it. But that girl, I believe, goes back and forth to Bainbridge Island on the ferry. Some people in real life do that too. Bainbridge Island is kind of a luxury bedroom community of downtown Seattle. Talk about outdoor culture. Obviously, we have a lot of mountains and a lot of water, right? You could go out on the lake. You could go out on the Sound. I think they're calling Puget Sound the Salish Sea now in some areas because that was the Native American name for it. So don't be confused. We're all on stolen land, guys. There's a lot of announcements when you go to the symphony that we're on stolen land. So don't worry, you didn't steal it. You paid $1 million for it and you can own it and enjoy it. So anyway, we have our outdoor culture and we are actually home to REI. This is where REI started, and the flagship store is here. We have climbing wall, and everyone here, hikes, bikes, skis, kayaks, or pretends to by wearing the appropriate outdoor gear when you're out and about shopping or going from your car to your grocery store and so forth. But if you aren't an outdoorsman and you want to be, you can connect with groups or take classes to introduce you to new places. You can rent equipment at REI and other places, so you could sort of try it before you buy. You can rent like cross-country skis, downhill skis, camping equipment, a bear can to keep your food safe in the backcountry. And technical fabric is our love language here. You want to get that Gore-Tex or whatever is the new thing, and you will be wearing it year round since you won't be carrying an umbrella. My grandma actually lived in the same nursing home as the one who was one of the founders of REI. And back then when I started going to REI, it was like a stinky basement in a retail place in downtown Seattle. And now it's more like the mothership for Seattle adventures. So make sure if you like to get involved with the outdoors, stop into an REI and just chat with the staff about what kind of programs they have available for you. So now let's talk about some do's and don'ts. First of all, you New England people, no honking, okay? We're pretty passive drivers. We don't want you to drive 10 miles under the limit in the left lane. We do want you to drive with the speed of traffic, faster on the left, slower on the right. But if you can get up to speed at all, and you're not stuck in 10-mile-per-hour traffic on the freeway, you're doing pretty well. But we tend to be pretty nice. We're not a big road rage area. But one thing you can do when you're out and about is make sure you do complain if it's a hot day like this. I'm just cooking in the sweater. It's probably now like 72 degrees. The sun is shining on me a little bit. I'm getting very hot. So if the sun comes out, make sure you say, oh, it's so bright. Look, there's like sun on my camera. Oh my gosh, it's so bright. I can't see. I'm really hot. I'm ready for this hot weather to be over. I'm ready for rain again, right? That's what they say in the summer. I want to throttle them. Like, I've waited all year for the sun. You got to enjoy every minute of the sun as far as I'm concerned. But a true Seattleite loves to say those things. So feel free to indulge in your, I'm not comfortable over 72 degrees and it's so warm out here. Now, July is coming up. Fireworks are illegal in the city of Seattle, even for Independence Day. So if you do buy some, you can find them at the Indian reservations, but you might need to set them off there too. Some people set them off at parks and other places, but just know that's not allowed. There are actually a lot of like outdoor fireworks displays in Everett and Edmonds, a lot of times over the water or over the lake. If you want to see some fireworks, you got to stay up until pretty late at night. It doesn't get dark until about 10 o'clock at night. So that's a challenge with kids, which is unfortunate. I grew up always doing fireworks like in our driveway and stuff, and all the neighbors would watch each other's fireworks. So we would get more bang for our buck. But that's okay. We can't do that anymore, but you can stay up late and get to a place where you can view the fireworks that are, being put on publicly, because obviously those are very expensive and nice displays. We're pretty anti-smoking here, but vaping is the new normal. So we banned smoking in restaurants quite a while ago, probably 20 years ago. And you can't smoke within 25 feet of a building door. Like, we don't want that smoke getting suctioned in, even vaping smoke. We don't want it getting sucked into the office building. So now you're pretty much not going to smell any cigarette smoke here. I actually walked by like a convenience store in a strip mall a couple of months ago, and I smelled the cigarettes, and it made me feel like very nostalgic. I was like, oh, it reminds me of my childhood. So there's not a lot of smoking, but there is plenty of vaping even amongst the high school students. So be warned, talk to your kids about vaping. It's hard to detect because you don't come home smelling like smoke. So be aware of that. If you like to go out to bars and stuff, typically they're not allowed to give big discounts on alcohol for happy hour. They can discount food, but not alcohol. So plan those Ballard bar crawls accordingly. And if you do go downtown for driving, be really careful. You're going to feel like you're taking your life in your hands. There's so many like weird bus lanes and bike lanes and traffic lights just for bicyclists, and they turn green and you want to go and then you hit a cyclist, right? It's displays for all of the deaths of the cyclists downtown, all the bike messengers and stuff. It's super dangerous because people cannot tell what they're supposed to be going. There are parking lanes in the middle of the street. Some roads are one way, some are bus only. The rules change at different times of day depending on traffic. There's no right on red in the downtown. Like, you will definitely be breaking a lot of traffic laws whenever you're driving around down there. It's impossible to know what's going on your first trip. So use caution. You can't exit the game because it's very hard to find a parking spot. There are parking lots, but they're very expensive, like $20 an hour. You can maybe do like $5 an hour for a meter on the street. It's crazy. And it's very expensive to park at the airport as well. So when you go downtown, and it is downtown, it's not uptown like in Charlotte where my in-laws live. Their downtown is called uptown. Like, it's crazy. We're downtown. It's downtown Seattle. And we're going toward higher density all the time. ADUs, DADUs. You think it's crowded now. We have a mandate to cram in 80,000 new housing units in the city. So say goodbye to your backyard. Developers are buying up the older homes and building a new house in the backyard. It's called Middle Housing. We love it here. We love it. And you can watch my video about that with the Seattle City Planners for more information. But in the meantime, if you want a backyard, find it, snap it up now. They're not making any more of them. And you may have to go further out to find one. Be careful if you need to wash your car. That can be illegal. A lot of our drains go right out into the lake or the Sound or the Salish Sea or whatever you want to call it. So don't put things like soap or your car oil or your paint down those drains, because there's not really a filtering system. They're just basically going out into the water and polluting the fish. Okay. Similar situation with the lawn. Could be illegal in some situations to water your lawn if we're having a drought. And because we're such a green and eco place, sometimes it's frowned upon to water a big traditional lawn. So you will see a lot of people with dead brown lawns. This is not the South where everybody has a beautiful green manicured lawn. It's more like, no, brown and proud. We're letting it dry out. This is called xeriscaping. So anyway, there's just a lot of interesting stuff going on in here. And I feel like I could go on forever, talking about bike lanes and how to avoid the Idaho stop and hitting people when you turn at a light. The bikers can be pretty aggressive and they're pretty serious, because you got to have an expensive bike to be able to hit all the ups and downs with all the gears to make it anywhere in this hilly type of area. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. You are officially on your way to adapting to the Seattle life. If you are planning on a move or even just exploring neighborhoods, I would love to help you. Text, call, or email me. I'm Emily Cressey with Keller Williams Greater Seattle, and I will help you find a Seattle home that fits your lifestyle, and I will help you adapt your vocabulary so you can blend right in. The thing that my roommate used to make fun of me for was my A sounds. I would say flag, bagel, right? And I guess in the South, they say it like bag, flag, bagel. I thought she didn't know what a bagel was. But anyway, I'm sure you'll find more. There's going to be more fun coming up. Best way to test if someone is a local or not is whether or not they know how to pronounce the city name Puyallup. Okay, so now you're in the know. Puyallup is how you say it. And when you see it on the map, don't get confused. Remember, there's no R in Washington. You people from the East Coast, no R in Washington. Washington State welcomes you. We look forward to having you move here. If you would like any help with your move, feel free to look me up. Until then, I will see you on the next video.